We're going to begin our study of the planets now, each individually, starting with the Sun. And the study of the planets are really what we need to take good notes on, because the planets represent many things. They can be in numerous different kinds of situations and different kinds of combinations. So right now, get out a pencil and paper or your computer or laptop, whatever it might be, and start taking notes here. And once you take these notes, start looking over these notes and memorizing these notes, because there's too much to just get in a casual listening. So you have to review this. And I review this stuff all the time just to make sure that it's fresh within my mind. Now, each of the planets represents a specific thing within a person's life. They represent their general influence, such as the Sun represents authority figures, the father, the government, our body. Mars can represent our siblings, our teammates. So all of these are similar for everyone's chart. And when we get to the houses, the planets can take on more specific meaning based on the houses that they rule. But for now, we're just going to focus on the natural indications. And so in Jaimini, they call these the natural karakas of the planets. And by studying the state of each of the planets, you get a sense of how does this person relate to authority figures? How do they relate to their teammates? What is the natural state of their body? And that gives you a sliver, a piece of the whole picture, which means that yes, you want to look at the Sun for the state of a person's body and vitality. You also want to look at the ascendant for the state of a person's body and path in life. You want to look at their Atmakarika. So there are multiple things you want to look at over the course of studying a person's chart. But when you look at all of the multiple possibilities, then you can add them up. If all of them point in one direction, say the Sun is strong in the 10th house, it's exalted, the ruler of the first is in the 5th and with all of its friends, the Atmakarika is in a good position, the ruler of the 30th divisional chart, the Lagna of the 30th divisional chart, that's strong. Well, those are 4 indications for having a nice, strong, healthy body, which means that when you're talking to this person, you're going to say that you have a nice, strong, healthy body, and that if they have health issues, more than likely they will overcome them. We need to look at some other things for that, but overall we could do that. If we see that there are 2 indications of negative karma for health and well-being, and 2 indications of positive health and well-being, well, what do we do there? Sure, it'll be average, but that's when we start to pull in the dashas, or the timing, because then we'll look at the planets that give good health, and when they run that dasha, we'll say, your health will be better supported here. When a person is running a dasha of a planet that's in negative situations, then we'll say, you need to watch your health better, because these are planets in negative situation, you're in a dasha of this planet, it all goes together. And this is how we're going to start to synthesize these things. But again, it's a step-by-step process, and for these next several videos, we're going to focus on the natural indications of the planets and what they mean. And let's start with the Sun, also called Ravi, Surya. So the Sanskrit name for the Sun is Surya, or Ravi. A good mantra to use for the Sun is Om Sum Suryaya Namaha, which is essentially honoring that quality of the Sun within and around you. And what are we honoring when we do that kind of mantra? Well, the Sun represents our body, our vitality. It represents our capacity for self-reliance and confidence, the strength of our character, also our intelligence and our capacity to inspire others. So judging the state of the Sun, you can assess these sorts of things within a person's life. The Sun can show how we project our ego onto the world, which is why oftentimes people mistake the Sun for an egotistical planet. it very well may be an egotistical planet, but it's just the state of our ego, and you can have a healthy ego. If the sun is strong and confident, that's a Lajatati Avashta, if it's strong and confident, this is not a person who needs to prove anything, because they are confident within themselves. It's when the sun is debilitated or getting powerfully starved by its enemies, Venus and Saturn, that's when the sun starts to have to prove itself. And that's where we get ego problems. So if the sun is strong and well placed, it can be good ego. Now, not everyone's going to like that, because anyone who takes a stand on something or who is confident in themselves, they will be judged as being egotistical. Why? Because they're confident in what they're sharing. And in this world, that oftentimes gets attacked or criticized. Some of the best, most brilliant people in the world are consistently criticized because people just like to tear them down. So we can judge the extent of a person's egotism by looking at the sun. Are they an authority? Are they truly confident? Or are they trying hard to make up for a weakness or a deficiency? Saturn and Sun get together. This makes a person trying to make up for that deficiency, and they're overcompensating. It's just one example. The sun can represent our ambition, our fame, our status in life, and our power and authority. So how much power, how much authority does a person have? How much status can a person rise to? Look to the sun. Particular Varga for the sun is the Dasamsha, the D10. A well-situated sun in the D10 can give good status or status. I have to think about how that's pronounced. It can make you an inspirational figure that people look towards. If someone asks you if they're going to be famous, and you look at their sun, maybe they'll get famous because they overcompensate and they try too hard, but are they going to be famous because they are inspired to do something great? Well, that's when the sun is well placed, exalted, Mula Trikona, in a friend sign, supported by friends, in an angle, in a trine. Those are the kind of suns that you want. Now, the other suns are good too, but for different things. The sun's nature is considered to be benevolent, but firm, like a good king. And a question was recently brought up to me in regards to how can the sun be considered mildly malefic? Well, if you're averse to authority or averse to being ruled, being kept in line, well, then the sun's going to be a malefic. But if you understand that structure and hierarchy helps us grow and to achieve things because we're not distracted, we're focused, we're protected, then the sun is a very good planet. The sun is also an indication of our soul, and anytime the sun gets too close to another planet, which most people consider to be combustion, Lajatati Avashtas, it's called agitation, then we usually have to sacrifice the planet the sun is with. So whatever that planet represents, there will be some form of sacrifice we have to perform with that particular planet in question. And again, that's why the sun can be considered a malefic, because most people want everything all at once. They don't want to have trade-offs, or they think that they should be able to have the perfect life all the time without making sacrifices. And the sun is a planet of greatness, and greatness requires sacrifice. The sun can also be a planet that's lonely. The king, the queen, they're lonely because they cannot necessarily relate to the people that they rule over. So there's a sense of distance between the suns. The sun can give distance between the things that it influences. A strong sun can give skills in administration, in government, and politics. It usually gives a very solid body and a dignified appearance. The sun, the shape of the sun is square. Now, not the actual sun here, but the energy of the sun is square. It's a square. That's why the crystalline structure of garnet is specific to the sun. And that can give a very solid, stout type of body. Now, again, we're not talking obese, we're just talking about a strong frame. Again, because the sun rules the bones and the mineral content within the body. So overall, if we have a good sun, we can have a good, strong constitution, good vision, sturdy bones. And if we have a good sun, we might have a good relationship with authority figures, with government, with royalty, with nobility, with the sense of authority. And we have to remember in general a few things about the sun. The sun owns the sign of Leo, which we've already talked about. It's exalted in Aries, and it's in its fall in Libra, which means that the sun in Aries will do very well for the things that the sun represents. The sun in Libra will have difficulty manifesting whatever the sun represents. And for this, we would look a little more towards the houses that the sun rules, but it will have an impact on these general indications of the sun. Now, here are some more sun indications, and this is from the next book that's going to be coming out, The Art and Science of Vedic Astrology, Volume 2, the module or the chapter dealing with prajna. So the sun represents the father. It represents males in general. It can represent the heart, so the actual heart within us. Our vitality, our connection to the self or Atma, our immediate inspiration from higher spiritual levels. It represents Shiva, the god Shiva. Creativity, gold, brass, copper. It indicates fame and glory, leadership, kingship, government and administration, social status, politics. The sun represents physicians. So you've got a good sun in your chart. You might have good relationships with physicians, or do very well with physicians, or even be a physician. The sun represents our eyes and our vision. Minerals in general, so the mineral content of our body, that's why it rules the bones. Our courage and our independent spirit. The sun can give thin hair. It rules the eastern direction, has a sattvic nature, and is representative of the warrior caste, or the kshatriya class. So these things, again, you want to go back and review these and take notes on them. That way, when you're looking at a person's chart and you want to know what's the state of these particular things, you know it's the sun that represents the heart. Are they going to have heart problems? I don't know. Check the sun's Shadbala. The sun's Shadbala is strong. That shows that the heart itself has innate strength. Now, the sun might be hurt by enemies, such as Venus or Saturn, but if it's got a good Shadbala, natural strength. And you can apply this to all of these kinds of indications. Okay. Some other things to consider about the sun. It represents different things in different Vargas, but overall within the Vargas, within the divisional charts, as we've mentioned, it represents our ability to use our intelligence in that area of life. It represents our ability to be consistent in that area of life, to be steadfast, to be committed. So always remember that. Look at the sun in the different Vargas to see the level of commitment and steadfastness a person has. We can also consider the sun in particular houses. We'll do that now. And again, this is going to be in the upcoming book. When the sun is in or influencing or represent the first house, then the sun takes on the nature of showing the state of the body, the personality, and the health. A strong sun in the first can show a radiant personality, robust health. In the second house, when the sun has an influence with or representing the second house, then that shows a person's intelligence about maintaining their wealth and their resources, or how committed they are to their immediate family, the family they were raised with. In the third house, which represents our skills, the sun can show our intelligent use and consistency of our skills. And the third house being a house of courage, having the sun there can show courage and inspiration, so that can inspire your teammates. You can be a team leader when the sun is in the third. In the fourth house, the sun represents palaces and one's kingdom. With the fifth, it shows leadership, nobility, and esteem. In the sixth house, the sun represents government service. So people who work for the government or with the government. We see the sun in the sixth. We check out just how well dignified is that sun, how is it supported with Lajatati Yavashtas. Or if the sun rules the sixth house, say the sun rules the sixth and is in the 10th, well, that can also show someone involved in government services or government leadership. In the seventh house, it shows the egotism of the spouse or partner. It can show how consistent is the partner in relationships. Sometimes the sun is bad in the 7th house because it can make a partner too self-absorbed. But again, we need to look at other things to see if the sun is well placed or not. In the 8th, the sun represents our vitality and our energy levels, or if the sun rules the 8th. Remember, when we're talking about these planetary relationships, so the sun in a house or ruling a house or influencing a house, this is what we mean here. If the sun is in the 8th, if the sun rules the 8th, if the sun is influencing the 8th, its influence is going to be on the person's vitality or energy levels. And this will make more sense as we go through all of the planets, because you'll see that each planet represents something different in each house. In the 9th, the sun can rule the father or the guru. The 9th house is representative of the father as a guide, and the 9th house also represents how we were raised, our upbringing. The 10th house represents the father as an authority figure, and I found to be more indicative of the father as a person in general. The sun in or influencing the 10th house, this shows capacity to work with the government, a relationship to the government, our activity, our status, the power that we can achieve, and also one's father's influence in our life, or the father's influence in general. So to have a powerful father, you might have a powerful son in the 10th. The sun in the 11th represents titles and certificates, how a person is recognized. And finally, the sun in relationship to the 12th house rules temples and places of worship. So the sun in the 12th, in the 12th or ruling the 12th, we could use that to assess relationship to temples, benefits from temples if we frequent temples, and also places of worship. Now, the sun represents numerous things in different Vargas. We're not going to go into those because what we need to start with is the understanding of the sun within the birth chart. So go back and review this video. Take notes on what the sun represents. Get that in your mind. That way when we start studying the houses, other planetary combinations, or if you take, say, the Logitatia Vashtas class that's available on my website, you'll know what's being influenced. Meaning that if we know that the sun rules the bones, and we know that it's getting starved by Saturn, which is the Logitatia Vashta, we can know that the bones, or the mineral content within the body, has a weakness to it because of that Logitatia Vashta. If we see that the sun is getting starved by Venus, and we know that the sun represents our path in life and our inspiration, and we know that Venus represents our counselors, not counselors like someone you go see like a psychologist, but more so our advisors, like the king has advisors, the sun has advisors, Venus is the advisor or the minister. So if the sun is getting starved by Venus, then we know that a person's path in life and inspiration, what they want to do, is getting sidetracked or starved by listening too much to other people and what they want or what they think is right. So the sun is meant to rule and be the king. He's meant to listen to his advisors, but he's not meant to be ruled by his advisors. And these are just some examples of how we're going to start putting things together to understand what is going on within a person's life and within their chart. Okay, so next up we'll be looking at the moon.